Good morning. This is the video for the speaking window, which is not really a collection of new things, but we're being presented some of the actions and ideas that we've encountered before in kind of a new context. So I'll read to you the Zettel and gloss, talk about how I practice them on the Pell, and then talk about how we're going to move forward from here. Here note the text and gloss regarding the speaking window. Make the speaking window, stand confidently, inspect his play, strike him so that it snaps. Whoever withdraws themselves in front of you, I say to you truthfully, no one protects themselves without danger. If you have heard, he may rarely come to strike. So pretty long Zettel, and then here's what Ringeck has to say. This is called the speaking window. When he binds to your sword with hew or parry, remain strong with outstretched arms, with the long edge at the sword with the point in front of his face. Stand confidently and inspect his plays, whatever he wants to perform against you. If he strikes around from the sword with an overhew to the other side, bind in above against his hew with after, with strength, with the long edge to his head. Or if he strikes around from the sword with the lateral, which is also called the thwart hew, follow with the upper slice to the arms. Or if he retracts his sword to himself and wants to stab you below, pursue him at the sword and plant to him above. Or if he does not want to withdraw from the sword nor strike around, you work at the sword with the duplieren or otherwise with your techniques thereafter as you sense the soft and the hard at the sword. So the way I think of this is just like the hangers are an active use of the ox of the plow position. The speaking window is essentially an active use of the long point, the extended guard. And the speaking window is really kind of this bind where you come up, and ideally the point is not in your face, but you do want your point in their face. So this is just an extended bind, speaking window. And we're given some options from here. So the first one is that if we are at this bind and they cut around and hit us to the other side, we're going to turn our long edge and strike down into their head, possibly arms, suppressing their cut. Very simple. Similar in concept to that first slicing we saw, where if they cut around with kind of the exposed arms, we follow in and press our long edge to their forearms. Now we're using similar motion to come in and strike to the head. And again, you might catch the arms as well. So the first option is if they cut around, we're going to cut down into their head and suppress their cut. The next one is that they pull off and try to throw a thwart cut. From there, we're going to follow onto their arms with the slice. Because if I'm bound with somebody and I pull off to do a thwart, I'm going to expose that forearm. And so just remember that when we're doing these slices, we want to come in and inhabit that space. We need that physical structure to suppress a cut. If I just try to reach out and put my sword on them, I might touch their arms with my blade, but I'm going to get thwarted in the head. So be aware of that. So option number one is when they cut around, we cut down onto their head, possibly arms. Number two is that they pull off for a thwart. We're going to follow them in with this slice. Number three is if they pull back to cut, we're going to step in and inhabit that space with a thrust. And we do this with our long edge turn and our high hands so that we can, again, keep ourselves safe. We could maybe, in theory, just step in with a mid or low line thrust, but that's not going to protect us from the sword that is retracted and then come down on our head. So if we want to inhabit that space that they are yielding, we're going to step up with that thrust. And then the last one is if they don't retract, if they stay bound with us, we're going to use the windings that we have learned. If they give us big pressure, maybe that's when we do a duplieren, or if they're weak, maybe we wind up and thrust. So if the bind stays, that's when we're going to play that binding and winding game. And then the other options it gives us are if they leave. And so these actions are not really anything new. If you want to practice them on the Pell, what I like to do is if I'm practicing the first one where they cut around and I want to bring my overhew to their head to suppress, I'll set up a little bit off of the Pell so that I can just turn and practice getting good structure and a decent amount of power. It doesn't have to be a big, heavy shot, but I want to make sure that I can get some decent impact and protection onto their head and possibly arms. If we're talking about the slice, then I'll line up right on the Pell, and when I pretend that my Pell is leaving to do the thwart, I'm going to step in with this high slice. Similarly, I'll start out a little farther back, and when my Pell, my pretend opponent, pulls back their chambering, I'll just follow in with that high thrust just to make sure that I'm keeping my hands high on the thrust so that I am protected, as opposed to this where I'm still going to get hit. And then the duplierens and the other styles of winding attacks we've practiced in different videos. So it's a pretty short play because it's essentially just reformatting some information that we've already gotten from Ringeck's text. there is a kind of a series of anti-lessons, or the opposing lessons that I've talked about sometimes, where what we get in this speaking window section is that yielding space irresponsibly is going to get us hit, because what's happening is we're in this speaking window bind, and every time the opponent yields space, we're taught how to hit them. So the opposite lesson is that if we are here, we need to not yield space in a way that prevents an avenue of attack. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video to a previous video I did that was all about how to not yield space irresponsibly when you're attacking from the speaking window. That way I don't have to do it all again. It's a video that was based on a class I did in Vancouver before the world shut down. I was pretty happy with it, so I made a little kind of summary video. So I'll put that link in the description. And then just in terms of moving forward, I've been making the weekly videos for starting to go on 2 years. I've made well over 100. So I'm going to take the rest of the year off, kind of the holiday season off, and then when I come back in the new year, I'm probably going to be a little bit more sporadic. So I'm not going to stop making videos, but I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to release them every week. So this is kind of the season finale, so to speak, and I will see everybody in the new year with a slightly different schedule of videos. I'm not going to stop because there's still a ton of material out there, but I need a break. So I hope everybody has a really good holiday season. I hope we come back in 2022 and we get to keep achieving more normalcy and training together, and I look forward to hitting each other in person when we get to travel and go to big events again.